Welcome to Unlocking Success, a new House and House podcast where you and I will listen to insightful agent stories from their first few days in Dubai real estate to the ups and downs they face to reach success. I'm James Perry, Managing Director here at House and House. From selling Audis in the UK to selling properties in Dubai, our first guest has been on a roller coaster of a journey, and she may or may not have found herself crying at a desk in those early days. Joy Eaton, welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, good. You?
Yeah, very well, thank you.
Good.
So let's start by, if you can tell me how you ended up at House and House.
So Jordan, remember Jordan?
I do.
Yeah. I worked with him in the UK and he moved over. But it's funny, I had a conversation with my best friend a year before and I said, Dubai is a place where I'm going to live. I'm going to move there. And she was like, why? Like, you've got such a good job here. Why would you move? And then he moved over before I did. I then got approached by somebody on LinkedIn and then the idea just came to my head and Jordan just said, well, why not? Come over.
Nice.
Yeah.
That was how many years ago? 6 years?
6.5 years ago that was, yeah.
And you've not looked back since?
No.
So you started in leasing,
yeah,
and then transitioned to sales.
Yeah.
Now I get asked this quite a lot when I'm doing interviews. So people ask, is it better to go in leasing? Is it better to start in sales? Like, how do we actually work out where someone will go? These kind of questions. Was that actually a good transition to Dubai real estate? And going back, if you went back now, would you do it the same again, or would you do it slightly different?
There's things I would have done differently, but I think for me, the money that I had behind me at the time, the savings that I had to go into leasing. But I actually really enjoyed leasing. I liked how fast paced it was, and I think it was very important for somebody like myself to get more knowledge of the area, to get the clients. And when I did eventually move over to sales, it benefited me in so many ways. A lot of the first transactions that I did in sales were previous clients. So I should have transitioned over to sales a lot sooner than what I did, but I'm glad that I went down that route for sure.
Okay. So at what point did you decide to? Were you pushed from our side, or is it like a mental decision your side?
It was just before COVID hit, when Charlie, I think at the time, Charlie was a leasing director. And then Charlie moved over to the sales and he said, move over to sales, why would you not? And then,
I was thinking about the commission, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was. and I love working with Charlie.
Yeah.
Like Charlie being the leasing director, it only made sense for me to move over. But then COVID happened and I think there was so much uncertainty at the time. To be honest, we had massive months during COVID in sales.
Yeah.
So I should have moved over, but I think it was just taking that jump and I just didn't have the confidence. There's other reasons why I didn't move over, but I'm devastated that I never done it sooner, to be honest.
So I guess there's going to be people who are listening to this that are going to be new to real estate, or maybe, in their respective countries, wherever that is in the world.
Yeah.
What is the perfect time frame, do you feel, from that leasing to sales? Because again, it's just something that comes up quite regularly in conversations that I have.
I think do it when you're not planning to do it, definitely. I think for me, I got into a routine where I was so comfortable in leasing that taking the jump to sales was something that I actually didn't plan, and I'm so glad that I did it at that time.
Yeah.
Because I had to get back to that fear and actually think, oh my God, I need to make money.
Yeah.
If I don't make this work, it was going back into the same transition that when I first started in leasing. It was, if I don't do a deal, I'm like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
So I think for me, it works differently for everybody, but for me, I had to take the jump when I wasn't expecting it.
Which is harder, leasing or sales?
When you say hard, I think when I first started, I really struggled with the transition of moving to a different country as well, not only just leasing.
Yeah.
But I think the conversations in sales are a lot easier to have.
Really?
Negotiations are different, but it's not all the maintenance. Like, you have to deal with all the snagging. Like,
do you think sales is easier?
I do, yeah. And I think it's a lot more professional.
That's interesting.
Why? Do you not? There's a lot more obstacles.
I think, look, when you're speaking to clients and they're making one of life's biggest decisions when they're actually purchasing a property, I think on the rental side, you can find, day-to-day people that just take a property because it fits their needs at that particular time, or perhaps they're under time pressure of moving. So then, they are flexible because they're thinking, look, in 12 months' time, or if I don't like the neighbours, I can move again. Whereas when it's a purchase, I think it is quite different. I think
I agree with that. I definitely agree with that. I think it's who you are as a broker then. Because I think for me, I love building those relationships. And I think that's why with sales, I think it suits me a lot better because it's building those long-lasting relationships. Whereas leasing is like that. You might get a call one day, you rent a villa, and then you should stay in touch. Then they might move, or sales is a little bit more solid.
Nice.
Yeah.
You're always very well presented.
Yes.
You were just talking about your hair.
Yeah.
How important is image to being a Dubai-based real estate broker?
So important. Like the first impressions matter so much. I always put myself in the client's shoes, and I always think if I was approached by somebody who didn't the hygiene is a big thing, or they smell a bit funny,
right?
Or the way that they look. If they came to me and they looked unprofessional, for me, that is the first impression. Is I don't think I'd want to work with them. And it's not the same with everyone, right? But I do definitely think how you dress is a huge factor, especially for women.
Do you feel different getting, professionally dressed in the morning? Do you feel like more confident? How does it make you feel? Yeah,
it's funny because on a weekend, if I have viewings, I might not come in with a blazer on or go to a viewing really professionally. I will still wear professional clothes, but I just feel like it puts me in a different mood. When I'm dressed professionally, I'm going to that viewing, I'm on the call, they can't even see you half the time, but if I know I feel good, I think it definitely goes a long way.
Nice. How hard was that transition from car sales? Because I interview a lot of people, second stage interviews in the company.
Yeah.
We have a lot of people coming from recruitment, car sales, different backgrounds, but car sales is one that comes up a lot. Is that a good kind of breeding ground to Dubai real estate? How hard, how easy was that transition for you?
It was, the job is quite similar in terms of negotiation. You basically find out what the customer wants, how much they want to spend, what their budget is, and then you just try and negotiate with the business manager. The only difference is there's somebody else involved. So when you're doing the negotiation yourself, you are the negotiator. But it's very similar. The conversation's obviously very different, but negotiation it's very similar. But I think the biggest thing that I struggled with was going from doing a job where I actually sold quite a lot of cars and I was really successful, to then going to a job where it took me time to get into the swing of things. I then had so much self-doubt, like, am I actually good at sales? Like, can I do sales? I think that transition was the biggest struggle.
Yeah.
Going from being really good at something to then going to do something new. And I'm naturally an overthinker, so I think it just got into my head a bit too much.
And at what point did you actually think to yourself, I've got this, I can actually do this job? How many months, weeks, years in was that?
Do you know what? It's funny because I remember in the January, I had an operation here. Don't know if you won't remember.
No.
But I had an operation, and up until that point... No, it wasn't. I'm a natural. But up until that point, I used to put so much pressure on myself, and you and Luke would sit down and you'd say, Joy, applying pressure to yourself is good because you obviously want this to work, but too much pressure is bad, and it comes across to clients.
Yeah.
And that was what I did. I put too much pressure on myself. And then when I actually went through that operation afterwards, I thought, you know what, I'm worrying about things that haven't even happened yet. I'm overthinking every situation that haven't even happened. So then I just relaxed, and then I think 3 or 4 months later I became a senior.
Yeah.
So my whole mindset changed, and it was just like, control what you can right now.
Yeah.
But I would overthink everything in terms of money, what if I run out of money? What if I don't make it work? And I'd think things that aren't actually true and were never going to happen. But that's just who I'm like as a person. So
I think that is quite a big thing though, isn't it? When
Yeah.
you are, I think you need not enough money that it gives you the pressure.
Yeah.
But I think you do need that financial cushion.
Yes.
And I've seen, many people over the years that have come to us and they're really talented brokers, but they never give themselves the right opportunity.
Yeah.
Or, they're just under so much financial pressure that maybe they go home early or go into a different industry and this kind of stuff. So I think it is quite important. I think once
money is the biggest stress.
Yeah.
I think the worst worry that you have is over money. Me personally, anyway. Obviously, relationships and work and whatnot, but the biggest stress for me is money.
Yeah.
And
Are you stressed today?
No, I'm all right today. I'm actually doing all right. But I always remember you saying to me, I always said to myself when you first started, if I got to my last £1,000, I'd go home.
Really?
That's what you said to me.
I said that to you.
You said that to me.
Really?
And then I always thought, okay, well, if he said that, I'm going to think the same.
Yeah.
And I never got to that point.
Yeah. No, I do remember that. I think it was slightly different. When I came to Dubai, it's very similar, but it's actually, when I came to Dubai, I put aside a certain amount of savings.
Yeah.
And I said to myself, if I depleted those savings, I'd get back on a plane and go home.
Yeah.
But I just never I made sure that I never went near them. And just, I was doing the business. B, I just didn't overspend. I was actually really cautious when I came to Dubai, just because I didn't want the embarrassment of going home and telling people that I'd failed.
Some people, unfortunately, do come over here and they think, I'm in Dubai, I'm in this new lifestyle, and then they go out every week, and I think you have to be strong-minded to not do that.
Yeah, definitely.
There's so much to do in Dubai.
Yeah, 100%. And you're trying to, build up a social network and all this different kind of stuff, right? Biggest lesson in the past 6 years of being a broker?
Believe in myself.
Nice.
That if I could talk to myself 6 years ago, it'd be, Joy, chill out and believe in yourself. You can do it.
Yeah.
But that came with before I moved here, so many people were so negative in the UK. Why are you moving? You've got such a good job. Why are you leaving? And you're not going to make it work. We've seen people move to Dubai to do real estate, and they've came back, and people would actually laugh at me and say, "We'll see you in 6 months down the line."
Yeah.
When you come back and you don't make it work. And that just gave me fire in my stomach to think, I'm going to prove you all so wrong.
Yeah.
And then literally 6.5 years later, I'm like, yeah.
And they're probably still doing the same thing, right?
So, yeah. Isn't it weird when you go back home?
Definitely.
And everyone's still in the same places and doing the same thing.
Definitely. Who inspires you most day to day?
My dad.
Really?
Yeah.
Why?
He's just amazing.
In what sense?
He's so successful, and he's came from like nothing to everything. Obviously, in my eyes, it's very different. He's my dad, but I think, he made something out of. He made something out of himself when he never had anything.
Nice.
That's what I like.
And what is that thing that you look for in success?
Success. Look for in success, money and everything. Money and everything else that comes with it. But I think just being happy and not having to worry about, money, and being able to do what you want to do and inspiring people. Like people actually looking up to you and thinking, you've done this, so I'm going to do the same thing. And if I can do it, anyone can do it. That's the way I see it.
Who was the last person you did that to?
I get the comments like that from some of the people in the team. I'm not going to say names.
Come on, don't be coy.
I'm not going to say names, no.
Come on, Joy.
No, I'm not going to say names. But look, there's a lot of people in here who get a lot of recognition from the other brokers in the team, and it's nice.
Yeah.
There's somebody who's just came over from leasing in Temperance Living, and she says the same thing. Look, you've obviously you've done well in leasing. You've moved over to sales, and yeah, it's nice to see, and it's good, and you should be proud of yourself.
When was the last time you cried on the job?
So long ago.
Really?
Yeah, so long ago.
Because I remember, and I hope you don't mind me saying this, but when you've really, I said this to you not long ago, you've actually like grown up with us, right? I think you were maybe
I was 22 when I started.
22 when you started, and you were
Younger.
A little bit erratic in just like behaviour and stuff. You know, one minute you were really up and next minute you were really down. And I guess this brings me quite nicely onto the next topic, which is mental health.
Yeah.
Because, you know, it is a tough job.
Yeah.
And I think people, you know, really underestimate not just, you know, getting into a different career and getting into a different industry. You've got all these other pressures when you come over here, like the caveat of it being commission only. Yeah. You know, leaving friends and family behind, relocating to a completely different country, not knowing where to get your nails done or, you know, where to get a bottle of milk from in the morning and stuff like that. So talk to me about that.
Where do I start? I never actually realised I had anxiety until I moved to Dubai. And I think the reason why that came up was because you're right, like you move into a different country, you're getting to know different people. Me personally, I never went to university, never lived away from home. So the first time that I did move away from home was 7,000 miles away in Dubai. So it was quite overwhelming. And I think I personally struggled with not having my family base there and not having my friends. And, you know, when sometimes, or even now, like if I have an argument or something, I have a bad day, all I want to do is go and speak to my parents and go home and have a cuddle with them. And that is hard. That is the hardest part, I think, about being away. So that's why it's so important to be at the right place, working with the right people.
Yeah.
Because I couldn't imagine how I've felt over the years where I've been like, I can't do this anymore, it's too hard. And you have to have that resilience to just think, you can do this, like just keep going. I can't imagine how hard that would have been if I didn't have the network around me like you guys. I genuinely don't know what I would have done. Because I mean, but it's true though. Like I look at like Adrian today, he's celebrating his 7 years at the company.
Yeah. Crazy, right?
Yeah, so long. And I just think, obviously it's very different when I started. We had like 50 brokers in total. Yeah. So different. The firm was a lot smaller. But it was just so, everyone really looks out for you. And I know you get people say all the time about, you know, it's like a family, but it genuinely is. And I don't think, like when my dad comes on holiday, for example, he will get upset, he'll get emotional to the likes of like Adrian and Pete and whatnot. And he's like, thank you for looking after for all those years, because you have to. Yeah. Everyone moves to Dubai, everyone's been, however, when you start, you're going to go through a mixture of emotions. And I think it's really important for those to know that we've all been there, we've all gone through that. Maybe me more so than anyone else. But yeah, I used to cry every week.
Really?
I used to cry every week, and I don't know if it was you or Luke, but one of you said to me, do you know what, Joe, I can't.
Probably me.
Yeah, probably you.
Probably me and Luke.
I think after weeks you were like, yeah, Joy, do you know what, you can do it, but if just you're beating yourself up and you're doing well.
When did that stop? Obviously this is quite personal, so I appreciate you opening up, but when did that stop, and how much would you say it was work related?
What for? What do you mean?
Just in terms of breaking down each week and crying.
I think that was only until a couple of years ago, and that wasn't work related. I think at that time I struggled having a balance with work related and personal, and everything got mixed into one. So like now, if I have anything personal going on, I will never bring it to work. It's very different. Whereas before, a few years ago, people would look at me and say, she's got something going on. Yeah. Because I couldn't hide. Whereas now, nobody would have a clue. Yeah. So it wasn't until a couple of years ago.
Okay, nice. If there's anyone working in this market who's feeling kind of similar emotions to you, I guess there must have been times where you felt like jacking it in and going home. Yeah. Like what stopped you, and what would you say to those people listening that are maybe, 6 months in, it's not going right, money's quite tight, and they're really just struggling and thinking, God, this is actually harder than I thought. What would you say to those people?
I think at that stage, that's where you should take full advantage of it, to be honest, because again, going back to the whole fear mentality, like for me, pride is a big thing. So it wasn't an option going home. That just wasn't an option. I thought I didn't want it, although it's not an embarrassing conversation to have, to me, I felt like it would be embarrassing me going back to the UK saying it didn't work out. Yeah. Like to me, that would be embarrassing. Yeah. Other people might not see it like that, but I think that comes down to pride, and I think, focus on that. You know, you came here to make it work. I got offered jobs from car dealerships when I moved here.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, it was something that I was used to in the UK, very different to obviously the UK car sales, but I never, ever, ever once swayed my head and thinking I'm going to do that, because I came here to make this work, and I was going to make it work.
Yeah.
And the feeling you get, I still get that feeling now if I close a deal or have a good viewing. I'm still driving the car and I still get this buzz, this feeling. And that when you get that feeling, when you've gone through so much in terms of like, can I make this work? Or should I just pack it in and go home? There's no better feeling.
Is that a daily thing?
Yeah.
Every single day you get that?
Yeah, I still get that feeling, that buzz, and people laugh at me in the team. They go, how do you still get that feeling? I'm like, the minute I don't get that feeling, I think I probably wouldn't be. I'd think twice about whether I'm doing the right thing. Yeah. Whether I need to move on to a different career.
So how long do you foresee that you'll be working in this market?
For as long, I hope for as long as I can. I think for me, having a family is very important, but I could still take babies on viewings.
I've had that on a viewing once before, actually.
Have you?
Yeah, I had a girl.
I actually think it would do quite well.
No,
not
with this girl.
Yeah, okay. Well,
long time ago, but yeah, a different company from House, by the way. But yeah, I have actually had that when I was looking for myself.
But then again, look, you have to do it.
Yeah.
I think that's quite nice. I mean, for me, if I had an agent do that, I'd be like, well, she's
fair
committed.
Play. Yeah. What is the number one skill you believe to be a top performer in this market?
I think one of my number one skills would be negotiation. Put myself forward and be one of the top negotiators. But I definitely think I can work on my organisation. Okay.
So you think that the number one skill to being a good broker is negotiation?
Hard work. Mm-hmm. There's lots of different skills that you need.
Yeah.
I think the more...
One superpower.
Oh, superpower. Me personally, I would say resilience.
You said negotiation 2 minutes ago.
Well, yeah, I know, but it's different. There's lots of different ones. There's lots of different skills you need.
There is. What's the number one?
All right, negotiation. I'm going to go back to negotiation.
Yeah.
Because as long as you work hard and you're a good negotiator, to be honest with you, I think what could go wrong?
I think,
What do you think?
I think you're right. I think there's lots of different skills that make up a good broker, but negotiation is key. You can get someone that does the whole job and everything with a client very, very well, and if they haven't just got that last little push and that last little bit of edge, that's it. The deal's not happening, exactly. Right? They don't make any money. So
a lot of my clients actually say to me that I'm totally different when it comes to the negotiation stage. So when initially meeting a client, qualifying a client, I'm maybe very friendly, but then when it comes to the negotiation stage, it's like, she's here.
What would you say your style is when it comes to that?
Firm.
Really?
Firm. But always be nice to someone that you want something from.
Yeah.
I never used to think like that. Like I used to, if I would ask a question and it wouldn't go my way, or I'd put an offer forward and it didn't go the way that I wanted it to, sometimes it would annoy me, and maybe that would come across on a call, or whereas I think now, always be nice to somebody that you want something from, which is a deal, right?
Yeah.
If you don't do a deal, you don't make any money.
True. Thank you, Joy, for joining us on our first episode of Unlocking Success, and thank you for being here with us and listening to Joy's journey in Dubai real estate. Next up, I'll be joined by another very special guest with some interesting stories. Make sure to subscribe to the podcast so you don't miss out on any new episodes. If you'd like to know more about Dubai real estate or career options at House, we'll leave the link to our website in the show notes. You can also follow us at House on Instagram, Facebook and LinkedIn. See you next time.